Welcome to the presentation, Moving from Traditional to Digital Classrooms. The purpose of this video presentation is to give you information on blended learning and how to begin to move your class to a blended learning environment. If I say the word technology to you, I am bound to get a variety of opinions and thoughts, most not being positive. Reasons that this would be is that as teachers, we have to deal with the negative aspects of technology. We deal with our students on phones playing games, watching videos, or on social media, and not paying attention to our work. We also have to address the changing technology that our district throws at us with little or inadequate training and expected to implement it into our class routines. Then there is the frustrations for teachers who would like to implement the use of technology into their class, but the school has limited technology. Additionally, problems with implementing technology for teachers comes from making sure that students are able to use it without spending a lot of time teaching it. However, there are teachers in schools across this country and within our district that technology has a positive aspect to their teaching. They have found ways around the frustrations that other teachers have had. How is it that we can be like these teachers and use technology that we have access to in order to create an environment where students are engaged and learning? Throughout this presentation, I will address this question. This presentation will also show ways that we can use technology to help our students be engaged and learn what we need and how to address the limited technology in the schools. An option that is best for our school and situation that will allow us to incorporate technology into our classroom is blended learning. Blended learning is a method of teaching that mixes web-based instruction and classroom instruction. Because schools have limited access to computers, blended learning becomes an ideal solution for schools. Research shows that blended learning is just as effective as web-based instruction, but that instructors who use a combination of technology and face-to-face education results in more positive outcomes. In other words, blended learning is better than just classroom instruction and has the same results as courses that are completely online, making it a viable choice for our students. If we use the right programs available for blended learning, we will be able to use the technology that is easily found in our classroom, cell phones. Technology use in the classroom doesn't have to be a scary thing for teachers, and working together, we can do it. This is just the beginning of the discussion that we will have on how we can improve student learning and engagement through the use of technology in the classroom. Throughout this presentation, we will look at the benefits of blended learning and the best practices of blended learning and the tools that are available that students will have access to. In order to understand blended learning, let's define the components that make up a blended learning environment: online and face-to-face. According to Peccano, Seaman, Shea, and Swan, online learning is a course where all or most of the content is delivered online. Allen and Seaman clarify this by stating that 80% or more of the online course content is delivered online. For the most part, online programs are completed off-site, meaning that students and teachers of the online course are in different locations during the duration of the course. In an online distance learning course, communication happens solely through the use of technology like emails, video conferences, discussion boards, etc. Face-to-face learning environment is the traditional brick-and-mortar schools. Students and teachers are the same location during the learning. Students have a set time in which they come to the class daily and get the material necessary for learning. Allen and Seaman state that a face-to-face class is where 0 to 29% of the content is delivered through technology. Now that we know what online and face-to-face learning is, we can look at what blended learning is. Blended learning, according to Peccano, Seaman, Shea, and Swan, is a combination of online delivery and face-to-face, where most of the learning is done online. Allen and Seaman clarify this by adding that blended learning has a 30 to 80% of its content delivered online. McGee and Reese add that blended learning provides a substantial portion of content online with a seamless transition to face-to-face time, meaning that what students are doing online should also move into the classroom during face-to-face and vice versa. Online portions should not just be extra work on a topic, but additional opportunities for learning. In an ideal blended learning environment, students would spend less time in the classroom. Blended learning is ideal for our school because of the limited access to technology, both in and out of school. The school does not have enough computers to accommodate a full online program or the money to make sure that students have the necessary technology, computer, and internet at home. Our students also need to have support and structure that can be provided with blended learning environment that will allow them to be more successful than a total online program. However, staying with a traditional classroom and expecting our students to be successful cannot continue to happen either. Today's students are not the same as they were when you and I were growing up. The students in our classroom have grown up their entire life with computers, cell phones, and internet as the norm. This is all they know. To show an example of this, as a social studies teacher, when I teach Industrial Revolution and talk about the creation of phones, I show them what I have seen in my lifetime and they laugh. All they know is smartphones and cannot believe that there was a time that a phone was attached to a wall. Prinsky adds this idea when he states that students think and process information fundamentally different from their predecessors. Today's students are no longer the people our educational systems was designed to teach. Creating a blended learning environment creates classrooms that are for our students who are digitally minded. They receive information fast, they multitask, prefer graphics before text, thrive on instant gratification and frequent rewards, and prefer games to serious work. Traditional classrooms do not meet these needs of our students. Integrating technology into the classroom is a necessary reform that schools can easily do to meet the needs of the students. Picanio, Seaman, Shea, and Swan stated, "Online learning is an integral part of school reform as it allows for our students to get a customized instruction. The ability to have students look up the information on the internet opens up the material that students have access to in order to gain a deeper understanding of the topic. In a traditional classroom, it is not practical for a teacher to print off all of the information that students could use to gain an understanding and meet the interest and needs of the individual student. Online learning allows for the teacher to provide links to a variety of websites, games, videos, etc. that help and meet the individual needs of our students." Prensky stated, "What technology offers education most powerfully is a new and better way to differentiate instruction and learning, not just by speed or learning preference or instructor or even intelligence, but by passion. If we can get our students passionate about learning because they can connect to the information, then we have succeeded in improving student outcome and success." Students and schools can benefit from the use of blended learning. For students, one benefit is that the individual students' needs are being met. Teachers are able to easily provide students with supplemental aids and materials that will benefit the student that otherwise a teacher may not be able to provide. With the use of technology, the teacher can send a link to an article, video, visual, etc. that allows the students to help gain understanding of a topic they were struggling with. Text-to-speech software can help students who struggle with reading, and calculation tools found online can assist students who struggle with math. Tools to benefit our students can be found for all subjects online. Another way that blended learning benefits students is that it engages the students. Students are able to access material from around the world in an instant. At a push of a button, students have access to news from around the globe, volumes of history, both primary and secondary sources, data sources, and digital libraries with access to journal articles from all disciplines. With access to all of this information available, students are able to find material that is relevant to them, allowing students to be more engaged in the learning process. When students are engaged in the work and learning, they are more focused on what they are learning. If students are more focused, they will improve their comprehensions and do better on tests. Also, with blended learning, students are able to have a greater control of their learning. Students who learn quickly are able to move on to new lessons or to additional activities without having to wait on students who take longer to complete the work. This also works the other way, where students who need longer to learn and need additional information does not feel rushed to learn. Having more control over their learning allows students to take responsibility for their learning and ownership. They determine the sources that look and relate to the topic that they are studying. Students can no longer say the teacher doesn't teach because the student is their own teacher. One of the biggest benefits of blended learning comes from the skills that the students gain. Giving students ownership of their learning helps build the skills that are necessary for college and career. Students who are part of blended learning environment build critical thinking skills as they take all of the information they gather, analyze it, and create their own thoughts on a topic. Blended learning also teaches students how to communicate properly through technology. This is an important skill that needs to be learned, as talking via media is not the same as face-to-face. By participating in discussion groups online, students learn how to appropriately address others and their thoughts. Learning how to collaborate with people in different locations and tools that allow for this is also important. Students in all careers will need to work with others in today's society as companies are spread out and/or work with other companies from a distance. Learning how to work with others using technology is a necessary skill. With blended learning, students will get the practice necessary to build these skills. Blended learning helps students become self-motivated and responsible, which are also necessary traits for life after high school. As students enter college and/or career, they will not have teachers or parents who stay on them to make sure that they are getting their work done. The students need to learn to motivate themselves to complete the work on time or to go to class. Blended learning allows for students to build these skills that are necessary to be successful in the 21st century. Students are not the only ones that benefit from blended learning. Schools also gain advantages by implementing blended learning. One benefit is that it increases the graduation rates. Students who fail classes can have the opportunity to retake classes in a non-traditional way. Our school uses APEX, which is a blended learning program. Students complete most of the work online and meet with a teacher to get additional information and help. Having an alternative program for retaking classes helps increase graduation rates as students can take the course outside of the school day. Blended learning helps with graduation rates also because students who are more engaged in their courses and learning will do well in their classes and complete the courses without needing remediation. Blended learning benefits schools also because learning can be done anytime and anywhere as course material is placed on the internet. This helps schools when schools need to be closed to provide students with the opportunity to continue to learn. Having courses that have an online component makes sure that there isn't downtime in student learning. This is beneficial for our school when we have unexpected closures due to weather. Students can go online and complete the assignments and stay on schedule. Depending on school policy, it can open up the opportunity to have a unique schedule that limits the amount of time that a student needs to be in the classroom. Schools can increase their course offerings by using blended learning. Multiple schools could employ a teacher who travels from school to school and uses an online program for the other days. By doing this, schools keep costs down as they share the wages of the teacher, yet are able to offer different foreign language courses or AP courses that they otherwise would not be able to offer. This allows poorer districts to offer courses that their students would otherwise not have, but yet their richer counterparts offer, creating a more equitable learning situation. Other advantages to blended learning is the ability to easily track students. Online systems allow the teacher to access student data on individual assignments to see if the students have mastered the objective. Having the data available allows the teacher to give additional information to increase learning as needed and immediately. Blended learning also allows all students to participate via discussion boards. Students who tend to stay quiet in class need to participate in the online course to show their understanding. It allows for all students to have a voice in the class. Another advantage is that less money of the budget has to be spent on paper and printed materials and can be used for trips and technology, as material for a blended learning class is mostly available on the internet, and teachers would not have to print out as much material. Now that we have looked at what blended learning is and why it should be used in school, let's look at how we can begin to incorporate it into our classrooms. The first step to incorporate blended learning is to figure out what you want from technology in your classroom. In the PK Young Development article, it suggests to create goals that you want by using technology in your classroom and write down your ideas on what you want the technology to do. Getting the ideas and goals down on paper is important so that you know what it is that you want. So when you begin to create the blended learning environment, you are not wasting time working with technology that doesn't fit. Not having an idea of what you want and how to see technology used in the classroom will only cause frustration as time is wasted working a program that ends up not being useful. Just like in face-to-face classrooms, we are told to use backward design. The same goes for online learning. Starting with what the students need to know and use that to create objectives. Objectives are an important part of creating a blended learning classroom. Objectives that are student-centered and measurable will help determine how you are going to teach the material. Once you have your objectives, you are able to look at what it is that you want your students to do and determine if it is better to use technology to get them to meet that objective or if face-to-face will work just fine. Blended learning is about using the best of both online and traditional learning. The goals and objectives you have will guide you in figuring out where to use each one. The second step to incorporate blended learning is to learn how to use the technology correctly in your class. Moore and Kersley suggest that teachers know the techniques that are unique to technology. Taking a traditional classroom and placing it online is not enough. There are different strategies and practices that need to be taken into consideration. DePietro et al. States that teachers need to know how to modify instructional practices and pedagogical techniques used in face-to-face settings for online environment. In a classroom, there are techniques that happen without thinking about it, like interaction between student, teacher, and student-student. This is not the case within an online environment. We need to make up the differences between what happens naturally in a traditional classroom and strategically place them in an online course. In order to do this, training is a necessity. Leos recommends that you work with colleagues that are more tech savvy for assistance and take advantages of seminars, tutorials, and online courses to help. This presentation is just the beginning of that training, but further reading and studying needs to happen to continue to improve. The third step to incorporate blended learning is to start small. Tucker suggests to find one piece of technology that will work well in your class and implement it. The idea is to use the technology to improve what we already do. Instead of guided readings, have students use discussion boards to understand an article, or instead of multiple choice quiz, have students create a project to demonstrate learning. It really is that simple. PK Young Development adds, start with one step at a time. Start with a unit or an assignment. Do what is manageable at first and add to it. If you start with this one piece and gain confidence in using that in the classroom, then you will want to add another piece of technology. Pretty soon you have a true blended learning classroom. Starting with one piece at a time allows you to make mistakes and adjust until you have it down versus feel that you cannot do it. It does not work and throw the whole thing out. Blois states that teachers need to test out new technology so you are familiar with the programs that you are using, check out any problems, and how to move through the process. This is helpful so when students come to you for help with a program, you are able to assist them. It also allows you to prevent unforeseen problems by addressing them prior to student use. Playing with the technology allows the teacher to see how the tools are going to be used and scaffold the process so students know how to use them properly. Once you have your goals and objectives, it is time to choose a learning management system or LMS. When looking at various LMS, McGee and Reese suggest that you find one that meets your style and needs. Besides your needs and styles, you also need to think about how it will work with your students and your course. McCarthy states, students look for online programs that are similar to traditional educational programs. Students are looking for a program that is familiar to them and contains what they would get in a face-to-face classroom like interaction. DeSmit et al. Found that perceived ease of use and usefulness were dominant factors in LMS usage. The LMS system has to be easy to use if students are going to be engaged. If students find the LMS hard to use or unuseful, they will be turned away from the program and not be successful. Also, when looking at the LMS to use, find out what we already have access to. On TSS, there are many resources that are available to use in our classroom and can be incorporated pretty easily. Use what is available and what we have access to already. When looking at the LMS, make sure to choose one that fits your course. Schaffhauser gives a list of things to consider. First, does the site allow students to submit assignments? Part of the benefit of blended learning is that students are able to access the learning from anywhere. In order to completely do this, students also need to be able to submit the assignments from anywhere. Discussion boards is another thing to consider. Students need the interaction with other students that they get in a classroom. Discussion boards allow students to pose questions, thoughts, and ideas to other students and to discuss questions that the teacher poses. Discussion boards open up the online learning to being more like a traditional classroom for students. A third criteria to consider is an appealing and easy to use interface. The program should be something students can open and figure out pretty quickly how to use without needing tutorials and training. It also needs to be aesthetic, where students will want to spend time. With this, you want a program that material can be organized so students can access it easily. Fourth, allow groups assignments. Just like with discussion boards, group assignments open up interaction with students and creates an environment that students are used to. Fifth, you want an LMS that collects data. As we are moving towards more data-driven teaching, it is helpful to have a program that shows us easily what our students have mastered and what needs to be readdressed. We already have enough to do without going through the information that we have to determine this. And having a program that does a good job with this frees up time for us. Sixth, having an LMS that allows networking for both the teacher and the student is a benefit. Network for the teacher can help get and share ideas of what worked within our content. For students, it allows them to have other professionals and peers aid them in the learning process. It opens their support beyond the school. Tucker added 2 additional criteria as well. The LMS should have a link to support for the program. There will be times when the technology doesn't work the way it's supposed to, and the help is more than we can give. If the system has a link to support, this can help the students continue without delay in learning the material. Also, links to libraries and other resources that students will need during the course should be present. Providing the links allows the students to transfer from site to site without having to delay the learning by stopping and searching for the resource. So let us look at some of the LMS programs that are available. The first program that is available is Schoology. This is a cloud-based program that provides tools to manage classroom or blended learning environments. Schoology contains assessment building tools, discussion platforms, assignment creators, scheduling options, and announcement tools. Schoology is set up like a social media platform, making it easy for students to figure out the system as well as communicate with each other easily. If students can use Facebook or Twitter, they will be able to use Schoology. Schoology is a free LMS and does not require the students to have an email. The course has an access code that students use to access it. Other perks of Schoology is that it has a great network. Students and teachers can join other groups based on their interest and needs. The program allows for the teacher to place students into small groups, use media in all aspects of the course, and connect with Google Drive. It also allows rubrics to be used and created on site. There is a gradebook that can be used, but you would have to transfer grades over to Infinite Campus. But the site does collect and analyze the data of student progress. There is an app for Schoology that allows students to access the site from any device. Another LMS is Edmodo. This is a great LMS and very similar to Schoology. Edmodo contains assessment building tools, discussion platforms, assignment creators, scheduling options, and announcement tools, just like Schoology. It is also set up similar to Facebook and Twitter, so students will be able to easily access and use the site. It is also free and does not require students to have an email account. Professional groups that students may join and get feedback from are available as well. It also has a gradebook that does data collection. The difference between Edmodo and Schoology is that in the small groups, students are able to be part of multiple small groups. However, there is not an option for a grade discussion like there is on Schoology. Edmodo offers professional development workshops and annual online conferences for the teachers, which is a nice benefit. Another LMS is Loor. This LMS competes with Blackboard and is currently used more at colleges and universities. However, they are available for K-12 schools. They contain the previously mentioned tools that are available on Edmodo and Schoology and the basics of the LMS. One standout feature of Loor is the ability for students to create a portfolio of learning from kindergarten to 12th grade. This is a great option for students to show progress over the years and to be able to reference back to in content subjects. Canvas is another one. This is similar to Edmodo and Schoology, just not as aesthetic. It has all of the basic tools listed in the criteria above. It is easy for students to use and is able to be organized for easy access to assignments. A standout feature for Canvas is that it allows for live chats for its class members. This is a nice feature if you are not going to be seeing your students that often to be able to touch in with them. Blackboard is an LMS that is offered through Baltimore City Schools. We have access through it through TSS. This great feature with Blackboard is that it is automatically sets up our classes as they are already created in our TSS webpage. Another perk is that because it is part of our school system, our students have used it in the past courses, so there is a familiarity with it. Again, it has the basic criteria of the LMS. Moodle is another LMS that is mobile friendly. and supports third-party plugins. There are pre-constructed courses available for teachers to pull from, which can be nice, and allows teachers to also create their own. Some downfalls with Moodle is that it does not allow for groups to be managed easily and can be more complicated to use, so students would probably need tutorial on program. It would also require teachers to play around with and learn how it works. The last LMS option that we are going to look at is Google Classroom. This is a property of Google, so it integrates with other Google properties easily, like YouTube and Google Drive. It is easy to use for students and teachers. It is still in its infancy and is being improved and added to. Currently, it does not have an automated grading system for the quizzes and tests, but that could change in the future. There are so many more options out there that can be used. I looked at most used systems out there. However, for you to investigate which one would work best for you, if you go to the link below, you can find and compare these and other learning management systems. When setting up your blended learning course, following Keller's ARCS model will assist you. ARC stands for Attention, Relevance, Confidence, and Satisfaction. Following the ARCS model will help motivate the students. When incorporating attention, think about it in the form of perceptual, inquiry, and variability. To target the perceptual, using mediums like video, graphics, audio, cartoons, etc. are great ways to grab the students' attention. Inquiry would include methods that get students thinking, like hypothetical scenarios. Variability is making sure in the modules to incorporate various types of activities and presentations so that it is not the same day in and day out. DiPietro, Ferdig, Black, and Preston add that presenting material in a variety of ways makes sure that the students are getting the information that they need in ways they learn. Material that students should get include primary and secondary sources, as well as local, state, national, and world material that provides different perspectives. McGee and Rees suggest using virtual field trips, games, and simulations as ways also to get students' attention and making sure that they are getting material in a variety of ways. DiPietro, Ferdig, Black, and Preston also add that a variety should not just be in the lesson activities, but in how students demonstrate their learning. Allowing students to determine how to show what they know by offering choices that hit differing learning styles should be included. To incorporate relevance in the online course, it is important to relate that content to familiar experiences and current events. In addition to relating the content, letting students know why the topic is important to them and why they are expected to learn it helps in student engagement. When students have a way of connecting what they are learning, they are going to be more motivated to learn and will remember the information longer than if the material is random. Also, to make the material relevant, using second-person point of view is a good way. This places the student in the situation and makes them a part of the learning process. Another way to show relevance, according to Dunlap and Lowenthal, is by sharing out current articles and news that relates to the topic, not as an assignment, but in the news feed for students to see. This helps students see that what they are talking about is seen in society, and they will be more likely to buy in on the topic. Meeting relevance with individual students can be done as well by putting material that is built around student interest. Using the digital stories, according to Lowenthal and Dunlap, can also connect to prior knowledge of a topic. It allows the students to connect to the topic and see how the topic relates to others. To incorporate confidence, the teacher can send messages out to the class and/or individual students that shows that they can complete the assignment. In face-to-face classrooms, this is done without even thinking about it, but is necessary in online courses to make sure that students aren't giving up. These motivational messages can go on the forms of memes, videos, feedback on assignments, and announcements. DiPietro, Ferdig, Black, and Preston add that teachers need to provide motivation by checking in with students on a regular basis. If an individual student is struggling, a personal email to them is another way to encourage them. We can be proactive in giving students the confidence by making sure that challenging work is broken down and scaffolded to assist the students to be successful. And the last of the ARCS model is to make sure to incorporate is satisfaction. Students will feel satisfied in the course when they get feedback on their work and shows that they are on track to mastering the content. Feedback needs not to just include what is wrong with the assignment, but what the students did well. Students also gain satisfaction in a class where they get to use what they learned. McCarthy adds that higher order thinking skills need to be included to move students from having knowledge to taking that knowledge and moving it to evaluation. Projects that allow students to creatively demonstrate their learning help students feel that there was a purpose to the work that they did. When they have a purpose and are successful in fulfilling that purpose, we receive personal satisfaction. Another big thing to make sure that your LMS has is social presence. Bentley defines social presence as where students feel that they are part of a class and are connected to the others in the course. In a traditional classroom, social presence is easier to establish as students interact with each other face to face. In an online program, social presence needs to be created as students are in different places. With blended learning, some of the social presence is created in the face-to-face portion of the class, but still needs to be incorporated in the online portion. Creating interaction is key to creating social presence in an online program, and the connection has to be student to teacher and student to student. One easy way to establish social presence, according to Bentley, is to have an introduction and welcome message. Here, the teachers would present an introduction to him or herself, and where students would introduce themselves to each other and comment on the other's introductions. Lowenthal and Dunlop state that starting with an introduction helps build trust and community. They also state that it is important for the teacher to participate in the introduction so students get a feel for who the teacher is and their style. Other ways to establish social presence is to use digital storytelling. Lowenthal and Dunlap say to tell personal stories to the students about yourself, whether as part of the topic or just in the newsfeed. This helps students relate to you as a human being. We do this in our classroom regularly, both formally and informally, and we just need to make sure that we do the same for online courses. Students should also use digital storytelling so that they can get to know their peers. Again, this could be related to a topic, or it could be just a random discussion on their favorite holiday tradition. The idea is to get students to communicate with each other beyond just academics. Regardless of the way that interactions are done in the blended learning environment, it is important that they are built in regularly for students. Forums for discussions need to be part of the LMS where students can easily communicate with each other and the teacher formally and informally. We have looked at components that need to be incorporated in the LMS. Now we will look at the specific items that should be part of your course. The first thing that needs to be present is clearly stated expectations for the students. To do this, a syllabus that states what students will be doing and rules and expectations for the course needs to be created. Included in the syllabus should be a course outline with dates and assignments that students will complete online, as well as policies like etiquette and academic integrity. The syllabus and the LMS needs to be neat and organized so that students will be able to easily use it. Having clear deadlines so students know when work is due is also a must for success. Whether face-to-face or online, students need to know what is expected of them in order to be successful. In addition to syllabus that clearly states expectations, objectives need to be provided so students have a clear understanding of what they are supposed to learn. Objectives need to be measurable so that students know when they have mastered the learning and when they need to continue to use supplemental activities to get what they need to master the objective. Objectives also need to be written in a way that students will understand what it is that they are to do. Objectives should be written in a way that states what the student will do, not the teacher. Objectives serve as the roadmap of learning. When done right, students will not have to ask, "What are we doing today?" because they already know what they need to do. McGee and Rees add that when creating an LMS, you can't just take a traditional class and add an online portion. Doing this just creates more work for students and doesn't provide the benefits that come from blending learning. What should be done is looking at the activities for the unit and determining which activities should be done in class versus online. The ideal blended learning would be where the online activities complement the activities that were done in the traditional classroom and vice versa. Face-to-face instruction should clarify, apply, and critique knowledge, while online activities should build on what was learned in the face-to-face class. Tucker adds, online and classroom learning needs to be connected so students see what they do in one place leads to learning in other formats. Blended learning gives students the opportunity to dig deeper into a topic that is presented to them in a traditional classroom by using technology that would not be possible in a complete face-to-face class. Modules or lessons should include activities that are student-centered and allow for them to be active learners. These activities should have variety. There should be a combination of independent and group assignments for students to do. It is important that LMS provides students with immediate feedback and a way for teachers to monitor student progression. This way, the teacher can add material for students to look at to make sure they know the information immediately. One of the problems that can come about with blended learning is course quality. It is important to make sure that the students who are using blended learning still have access to materials that are equivalent to what students are getting in traditional classrooms, as well as having access to teachers who are qualified in the subject matter. Part of being a qualified teacher is that the teacher is trained to use the technology in a useful way that benefits student learning. This goes back to the previous discussion on how to incorporate blended learning. Another problem that also needs to be addressed is access to and funding for technology. There is a high cost associated with setting up technology in schools. Budgets just don't allow for much improvement in this area. With this in mind, we need to use what we have access to. Programs that we use should be accessible on a mobile device so many of our students will be able to participate. For the few that do not have access to data on their phones, alternatives will need to be provided to assist these students. For our school system, we do not have funding to provide the technology to all of our students that they could take home, and most of our students do not have access to technology beyond their phone. Internet access is also a problem in and outside of the school. The internet in school, when people are on it, becomes really slow, and many of our students do not have access to internet at home. The access to technology that we have currently is limited as many of our computers do not work properly. Money is not available to upgrade and add to the technology we currently have. Students need to be disciplined and self-motivated. A challenge that we will have is getting our students to be organized and on top of the work. We struggle currently with getting work in on time when we see them regularly. Ways to keep our students focused and on task all along is something that needs to be thought about when creating our LMS. Calendar reminders are just one way, but other ways need to help our students transition from teacher-directed to student-directed learning needs to be determined. Our biggest frustration at first will come in this transition. Once we have molded our students into online learners that are disciplined and self-motivated, that challenge will go away. Students are going to have plenty of distractions at home that will pull them away from the online learning. Part of the initial movement to blended learning is going to be teaching students how to manage their time and how to be responsible for their learning. Selling our students on the idea that these skills will be necessary when they move into the non-K-12 school setting, whether in a career or college, can assist, but more is needed to move them from the expectation of the teacher doing the work to them doing the work. Teaching study skills, organizational skills, and motivational skills will be a necessary part of the curriculum. As well as being disciplined and self-motivated, students need to have the basic skills. Just like above, the skills that our students are coming with are limited in certain areas. Reading levels, writing skills, research skills, etc. are just a few of the skills that our students are lacking in. When creating our course, scaffolding to helping students in the weak areas will help students become successful. Using the face-to-face time to help students develop these skills will assist in our students being successful during the online portion. For teachers, a challenge that we are facing is that we are left without support. We are the ones who will create the lessons and activities, teach and administer the site for our students. This will be a challenge for us as we are learning as we go. It is important that we all work together to offer the support that we otherwise will not have. We can share out ideas on what worked and didn't work, as well as suggestions on how to improve what we have. We need to be the support system that we otherwise will not have. Lastly, teacher training is also a challenge. What professional development we get will have to be done on our own. Hopefully, Baltimore City schools will catch on to the need for implementing blended learning in our schools, but until then, it is up to us to learn. Training can be expensive if done through coursework at a college, and finding useful and relevant learning elsewhere can be challenging. This is an area that needs to be discussed to find resources that will be beneficial to our improvement. Even with the challenges of incorporating blended learning into our curriculum, in the long run, it will be beneficial. It is time that we begin to meet our students where they are and with resources that will benefit them. The education system is letting our students down and keeping them with the traditional education system from ours and our parents' generation. We have entered into a digital world, yet our schools have been slow in adapting to our students who are part of that digital world. Everything they do, they use digital technology to do it. This is their thinking and their way of learning. They have access to information immediately with their smartphones. It is time that education shifts to meet them. It is time that education moves from the traditional classroom to a digital learning system. Education needs to move into the 21st century if we are going to prepare our students for life after high school. Blended learning is a way to gradually transition between the two systems. Blended learning will give our students the opportunity to gain skills that are necessary when they leave the walls of our classroom. It also allows our students to be engaged in learning and take responsibility for that learning. With the incorporation of technology in our classrooms, our students will do better in our class and will be more successful. Change is going to take place with individual teachers before the systems catch up. Let's be ahead of the game and at the same time provide for our students the opportunity to be successful. Let's create an environment where our students learn the skills necessary to navigate the world around them, as well as learn the material of our course. The work of moving to a blended learning environment will be hard, but in the end, the outcome will be worth it.